Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Chrissy Hodges, advocate for OCD, in particular Pure OCD, which is also the name of my memoir, Pure OCD, The Invisible Side of Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. I am a certified peer support specialist and I work with people all over the world providing support as they're working toward recovery. I have online groups through my practice and an online community that you can join if you're looking for support or being able to meet other people that have OCD, and other events that we do with therapists and advocates. And I can provide therapist referrals for you as well. Go to chrissyhodges.com to find out more. NOCD is an app, and inside that app, you can connect with other people. They have all kinds of resources, and they also do telehealth, doing ERP in many, many places around the world. Find out more about them at treatmyocd.com or nocd.com. I am doing a follow-up to the video that I posted last week with therapist Johnny Say. If you've not watched it, we are talking about things that happen in our childhood that may be contributing to our OCD themes now. And one thing in particular, I've gotten a lot of feedback from that video and a lot of people that really related to it. So I just want to say that is why we did this topic, because it was so important to talk about. It's not talked about often, and we really wanted to make sure that people know that this is something that's really common, they're not alone with, and they can ask for help and should. But a lot of the feedback I'm getting from people about that is mentally reviewing the things that have happened to them, or that the things that happened in their childhood that they believe aren't compulsive now, or that they believe may have had malicious intent. Meaning, I acted on this, so it was not OCD. I did it because I must be a monster. There's no way I can figure out whether I wanted or didn't want this. I wouldn't want it now, but back then I think I wanted it. All these questions. And one of the things that I wanted to clarify, just a few points here today, is I would have fully expected people, when they heard that video, which of course had a lot of information on this particular theme, for your OCD to go apeshit around it and say, well, they're saying all this stuff, but this doesn't apply to you, and let me tell you why. And this is part of the cycle of OCD, right? It becomes looking for proof, or looking for things that make you, believe that you have OCD or find out that you have OCD, to the opposite of looking for things that disprove that this is OCD. And one of OCD's sneaky ways of doing that is, it's almost like backhanded reassurance, right? You get the reassurance, which is a compulsion, that in fact what you're experiencing is exactly how OCD manifests, for OCD only to say, yeah, but they don't know this. And if they only knew this, or skewing some of the things that were talked about to say, oh no, then I fit this category and I don't fit the category that would be, this falls into OCD, or this was just your basic child's play or experimentation or exploration or something like that. I mean, that is the nature of OCD. So when you watch something like that, or you're Googling or asking people for a reassurance, confessing, things like that, you may immediately feel okay about things, but then once you start digging a little more for that proof, that's when OCD is going to dig deeper and say, you are the exception. You are the one person that this does not apply to. I cannot tell you how many people I hear from all the time that say, I am the exception. But that is a trait of OCD, to believe that you're the exception. It's not a trait for everyone, the same way that believing that you're not an exception isn't a trait for everyone. But it is. The fact that when people say that to me, immediately my first thought is, oh, but this is OCD. It's almost reassurance for me, for them. Because that's what OCD wants to do, is it wants to then take whatever information that you may have had and turn it into, but what if they knew this, or your intent wasn't what you thought it was. And I mean, it's just such a slippery slope, and you have to be really careful of that, and you have to be really keen to how it does this if you pay really attention to the pattern that you have with OCD, it's doing the same thing all the time. It's just that it's hard not to buy into that because it feels so real. And that's something to really keep in mind. I also wanted to say 2 more points really. Reassurance, y'all, as much as it makes us feel good momentarily, it is one of the worst possible compulsions that you can do because it doesn't last and it's never good enough. And a lot of people, including yours truly, immediately go to rumination, avoidance, and reassurance seeking. And it's just like ingrained in me to want to find some sort of logical reason or, logical explanation or proof that what I'm experiencing is or isn't OCD. And so to get that immediate relief of, okay, like watching that video, okay, this is my experience. This does align with what I experienced. How long does it take before you go, oh, wait, never mind. This doesn't apply to me. Oh, wait, remember when they said this? Because now I think that applies to me. That means I don't have OCD. Reassurance seeking is it's not a means of managing OCD, and it's sneaky because finding a logical solution to something seems like the logical way to prove you do or don't have OCD. But remember, OCD is operating on a threat that does not exist. So when you're finding reassurance about something or whether something is or isn't about something that doesn't exist. So there's no truth to anything. The threat that OCD is presenting, that you're doing compulsions for, is not a real threat. So now you're seeking proof and disproof for something that doesn't exist. So there's no way that it can last, and there's no way you can get enough reassurance in order to just put it to rest, especially a theme that hits you as big as some of those major ones that kind of take you down. The last thing I wanted to talk about today, which I think is really, really important, is, and I have several videos on this, but it's always good to revisit this, is the argument in your head on whether you're acting on thoughts or whether you've already acted on thoughts. Now, when we start to talk about this more in depth, like Johnny and I did, or when I talk about this a lot, I often make the comparison between acting on thoughts and it being compulsive. Guess what OCD is going to do when we start talking about that? OCD is going to say, okay, but you acted on it and it wasn't a compulsion. It was not compulsive. I mean, we could all call that from a mile away, right? Because given the choice, OCDs tend to want to default to keep you stuck. It doesn't, I mean, again, like I can't tell you how many people will present to me scenarios and say, this is me acting on the thoughts. And it's so easy to point out that, no, that was actually a compulsion. and they just, like, the OCD will not allow them to believe that. And it's easier not to believe, right? Because when something feels like it's real, then you're going to tend to want to explore that in order to get rid of the feeling, especially if it's negative, or get rid of the feeling if it's turned positive. You know what I'm saying? Like if it now feels like it's reinforcing it. So I always say, like, acting on the thoughts is in the eye of the beholder. And what does that mean? That means if I want to look at something as acting on the thoughts to prove that I have OCD, I'm always going to find a way to do that. Always. There's so many loopholes into getting stuck into the cycle. And so to some degree with OCD, you have to defy what your body, brain, and everything is telling you and choose the facts. I meet the criteria for this to be OCD. I have heard stories that sound exactly like this. I know other people suffer with this. I know Chrissy's videos say this. I know these articles say this. I know I feel like the exception, but I'm going to choose to believe it's OCD. And you have to choose that over and over and over because you're never going to feel good enough to believe it's OCD. I also want to say that as with being disheartened, there's nothing I want more than to just hand out through the screen a key that I can give you to make this go away. I have to live this way too. I am no different than you. I don't have this magic wand and with me that says, oh, look, this is OCD. Yay, let me move on with my life. That's not how it is. OCD feels real to me too. I battle these same questions that you do. I think the difference probably, if we're in different places at this point, is that I have had a lot of practice in making the choice to believe, even sometimes when I'm white knuckling and gritting my teeth. And so eventually, the deeper you get into recovery and the more practice you have, the more you really start to recognize, okay, these same things are happening. It does feel this way. I can believe this, but that doesn't mean it's not hard and difficult and excruciating sometimes. I think sometimes you might hear me saying these things on the video and think that I don't experience them either, and I do. I go through the same things you do. And I want you to know that if I can do this, you can do this. And I'm sharing this stuff with you because I hear it all the time from the people I support, the people that come to groups in my community, and I have experienced it myself. You're not different. Your experience is not different enough that you don't deserve treatment and therapy. It's not different enough that it has to rule your life, the rest of your life, for you to self-punish because of something that happened ages ago. It's not. It's not worth that. So if you want to rewatch the video with Johnny, take my message with you. OCD is going to watch that with you and twist almost anything in your own head to make you believe that you don't fit the criteria, that you are different, that you are exception. You are not the exception. You're not special. You're special in your own way, but you're not OCD special, and neither am I. And it's important for us to realize that, and important to see the OCD tricks for what they are. They're the same, they just sometimes come in different forms. So I hope this is helpful and cleared up a few things if you watched that video, felt a little bit confused, and or if you still had questions, or if OCD latched onto that afterwards. And I hope this is helpful. My birthday is this weekend. I turned 48. So I might do a little video on my birthday just to say hello to y'all and to celebrate all these years I've got to spend walking alongside you. And thank you for always being here and for your supports. And I hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.